Training video on how to change oil on the truck right here. This is my audience, this is my crew. And then some of the things we'll need will be a roller to get underneath where you have to change the oil at. Then the blocks to go behind the tires after you use the jack to jack them up. That way the car doesn't roll back. It's a safety. And then since it's a diesel truck, we'll be using 15W40. It's a little different oil. Every car will take a different type of oil. You have your oil pan where the oil will go, filter to replace, and then the funnel to put more oil in, and then the wrenches for the filter and both the bolt to unplug the oil, as well as towels to clean. Alright, the first step will be putting the blocks underneath the back tires. You want them nice and snug against the tires so if the car were to roll back, it won't go any further. So PJ is going to be demonstrating that. Lay them down, tuck them in, both sides of the car. Alright, the second step after the blocks are in place is you're going to want to find a lift point for the jack, and on this truck it's going to be on the right side. So BB's going to demonstrate by putting the jack underneath the proper lift point and starting to raise the truck up. Because of the lift point on this truck, where we lifted it, it's going to have just the right tire off, which is completely fine. It's just the way it lifted. And since it's high enough to get underneath now, we're going to stop with the jack. The blocks are in place, and the next step is going to be to go underneath and find the oil. Alright, we have the jack properly jacked up here, and since the lift point is on the right tire is off the ground. That's completely okay if both tires are on the ground or both off. Doesn't really make a difference. The next thing we're going to do is to go underneath and locate the oil drain. Alright, now that the jack is properly lifted, my employee's going to go under on the roller, his safety glasses on, and the proper wrench for the bolt on the oil. He's got his oil pan ready, and he's going to go underneath the truck. Alright, once we've located the oil drain plug, he's going to take the wrench and begin to loosen it with the drain underneath it. The oil should start coming out. Alright, and once it's opened up, allow it, give it a couple of minutes to get all the oil out of the car and drain in. Alright, what you want to do with the plug, the nut jacks, is make sure it's nice and clean and set that aside for when the oil is drained out. We have to put that back up there. As the oil is still draining out, what you want to do is locate the oil cap on the engine as well, and by opening the cap for that, it allows more air and properly drain the oil out. Now that all the oil is properly drained out and it's not dripping down anymore, the next thing you want to do is take the bolt for the drain plug and put that back in and tighten that up. Once the bolt is in place and is tightened up with your hand, continue and finish up tightening it with the wrench. Alright, now that the bolt is in place for the plug and that's all tightened up, the next thing you want to do is locate the oil filter underneath here and loosen that up, and also put the oil pan underneath, because when you loosen that up and take that off, oil will come out of it as well. Alright, now that the previous oil filter is taken out, The next thing you want to do is take your new oil filter and some of the oil, and you want to lubricate the ring going around it and put a little oil in there before you put it on. And then when you apply the new oil filter, you only have to tighten it with your hand. It does not need to be tightened with a wrench. So just putting it on there, in there, and then you would want to get that rubber seal lubricated as well. Alright, now that the oil filter is all lubed up with the oil and get ready to go underneath, and we're going to tighten it up and put it on. Alright, now that the oil filter and the drain plug are both completed underneath and tightened up, we no longer need the jack or the blocks, so we can lower the jack and lower the truck as well as take the blocks away. Alright, now that everything's in place, the next step is to take the oil and find the engine cap of the oil on top and start filling the oil. So using the funnel, this is the larger truck, we have a step stool up here, and we're going to begin pouring the oil in. On the third and final oil container here, we're gonna, halfway through it, we're gonna stop and check the dipstick on the level on the car just to make sure we're not too low or not too high yet. Now that we put half the container of the oil in, we're going to check the dipstick right here and check what the level is at.
Can still use a couple more quarts.
Since we looked at the dipstick and there's still a little more room for oil, we're going to finish off by putting the rest of this one in. Alright, now that the oil is in, we put the cap back on and the dipstick in, and what we're going to do is run the car for a couple seconds and then stop it, and then we're going to check the level on the dipstick again. Now that we checked the oil level again, we're all done. We're going to put the cap back on and we can close the hood. The last and final step to this is to take all the used oil in the filter and discard that properly at a recycle center. And those are all the steps to doing the oil on a truck.